Silence has a way of building walls, doesn't it? Walls so thick you can't see past them, let alone find the courage to tear them down. For years I've carried this weight, an apology left unsaid, a truth buried under layers of denial. It's strange how time dulls the edges of guilt, making it easier to ignore. But no matter how hard I tried to convince myself that it didn't matter anymore, it always lingered. That photograph on my table, it's not just a memory, it's a reminder of what I lost, what I destroyed, and who I hurt. Tonight, I'm finally ready to say the words I should have said years ago, because silence isn't protection, it's prison. It started with something small, or at least that's how I justified it back then. We'd been friends for years, inseparable even. She was my rock, the person I turned to when life felt overwhelming. But friendships, like anything else, aren't immune to cracks. Our fight wasn't about one thing specifically, it was everything. Misunderstandings piled up over months until they became insurmountable. And then came the day I crossed the line. In a fit of anger, I said things I didn't mean, things designed to cut deep. I accused her of betrayal, of selfishness, of failing me when I needed her most. None of it was true, but in the heat of the moment I didn't care. My pride wouldn't let me admit I was wrong, so instead of apologizing, I walked away.
After the fight, I told myself it was better this way, better to let go than to face the mess we'd created. At first, I expected her to reach out, to call or text and beg for reconciliation. When she didn't, I convinced myself she didn't care either. Denial became my shield, protecting me from the pain of confronting my own mistakes. Days turned into weeks, then months, and eventually years. Every now and then, guilt would creep in, the kind that kept me awake at night, or made me avoid certain places where memories lingered. I even started writing apologies once or twice, but fear always stopped me. Fear of rejection, of judgment, of facing the reality that I'd ruined something precious. So I shoved those feelings aside, burying them beneath layers of excuses and distractions. Sometimes, life forces you to confront the things you've been running from. For me, it was a simple social media update, a photo of her smiling with someone else, accompanied by a caption about gratitude and forgiveness. Something about it hit me harder than I expected. Maybe it was the realization that she had moved on without me, found happiness elsewhere, while I remained stuck in the same cycle of regret. Or maybe it was the stark contrast between her joy and my emptiness. Whatever it was, it broke through the wall I'd built around my guilt. Suddenly, all those years of denial felt suffocating. For the first time, I couldn't ignore the voice inside me whispering, "You owe her an apology." Looking in the mirror these days feels different. The woman staring back at me isn't the same person who walked away from our friendship all those years ago. She's older, wiser, more aware of the damage caused by pride and ego. Yet, she carries the same guilt, the same shame. Writing that apology letter felt like peeling back layers of skin, painful but necessary. Each word brought clarity, forcing me to acknowledge the harm I'd done. But every time I finished reading it, doubt crept in. Would she even want to hear from me after all this time? Had too much water passed under the bridge? Still, I knew I couldn't keep hiding behind denial. If nothing else, I owed it to myself to try. Reaching out was terrifying. Those few sentences took hours to write, each word carefully chosen to convey sincerity without sounding defensive. I wanted to explain, to justify why I'd acted, but deep down, I knew explanations weren't enough. What mattered was acknowledging my role in the breakdown of our friendship and taking responsibility for it. Hitting send felt like stepping off a cliff, leaving me suspended in a void of uncertainty. Would she respond? Would she forgive me? Or would she shut me out completely? The waiting was agonizing, every notification alert sending my heart racing. But despite the fear, I felt a glimmer of hope, a chance, however slim, to make amends. When her response finally came, I held my breath as I opened it. It was short, just a few sentences, but it carried more weight than any novel. She thanked me for reaching out, admitted she'd missed our friendship, and expressed openness to talking further. Relief washed over me, followed by a wave of gratitude. Not because she forgave me outright, but because she gave me a chance to rebuild trust, to show her that I've changed. Her willingness to engage meant more than words could express. It reminded me that forgiveness isn't guaranteed, but it begins with vulnerability and honesty. Seeing her again felt surreal. Time had softened some of the sharp edges of our past, but the weight of everything unsaid still hung heavy in the air. We exchanged pleasantries at first, skirting around the elephant in the room, but eventually I broke the silence. I apologized, not with rehearsed lines, but with raw honesty. I admitted my mistakes, acknowledged the pain I'd caused, and expressed genuine remorse. To my surprise, she listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from guarded to understanding. When she finally spoke, her words were measured yet compassionate. She admitted she'd struggled too, carrying her own share of guilt and regret. Together, we began unraveling the tangled threads of our shared history, piece by painful piece. Healing isn't instantaneous, it's a process. Over the next few weeks, we met regularly, slowly rebuilding the foundation of our friendship. Conversations ranged from light-hearted reminiscing to difficult discussions about what went wrong. There were moments of discomfort, tears shed, and truths uncovered that neither of us had confronted before. But through it all, there was progress. I learned that forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about choosing to move forward despite it. And she taught me that relationships require effort, vulnerability, and mutual respect. Those scars remain. They serve as reminders of lessons learned and bridges rebuilt. Today, I feel lighter somehow, free. Apologizing after years of denial wasn't easy, but it was necessary. For her, for me, for the sake of closure. It forced me to confront not only my actions, but also the patterns of behavior that led to them. Guilt doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its grip when faced head-on. Writing in this journal helps me process the journey, documenting growth and reminding myself of the importance of accountability. That quote on my wall serves as a daily mantra. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's triumphing over it. By apologizing, I chose courage over comfort, authenticity over avoidance. And though the road ahead may still hold challenges, I know I'm stronger for having taken this step. Thank you for listening to my story.